Tonight, we're journeying back to a time of shimmering gaslight and whispered secrets, of intoxicating romance and impossibly high stakes. This is the world of Victorian high society, where a glance could seal a future, and a woman's beauty was her most powerful and sometimes most dangerous asset. Are you ready to trade tonight's anxieties for yesterday's romance? The truth might be more complex than the fairy tales suggest, but it's a journey worth taking. So, before you close your eyes, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what historical era fascinates you most. Now, settle in, and let's drift back to a time when love was written by candlelight. The world outside your window is a symphony of muffled sounds. The distant clatter of horses' hooves on cobblestones. The faint cry of a street vendor selling his last batch of primroses. The low rumble of a city settling into dusk. But here, in the quiet sanctuary of your dressing room, the only sound is the soft, rhythmic brush of your maid's hands as she puts the finishing touches on your hair. 100 strokes, she always insists, to bring out the shine. You sit before a grand mahogany vanity, its surface a constellation of silver-backed brushes, crystal perfume bottles, and small porcelain pots of cream. The air smells of lavender water and the beeswax used to polish the furniture, a clean, calming scent that does little to soothe the frantic fluttering in your chest. Your eyes are fixed on the reflection in the looking glass. It is a stranger's face, you think, or rather, a carefully constructed version of yourself, a public effigy moulded for inspection. Your hair, usually worn in a simple braid down your back, is now a complex architecture of curls and plaits, pinned and coiled so tightly you can feel the pull at your temples. The soft wool of your day dress has been exchanged for the rigid armour of evening wear. Beneath layers of silk and lace, a corset cinches your waist, a constant, unyielding reminder of the posture you must maintain, the breaths you must moderate, the space you are permitted to occupy. This is your first London season, a phrase your mother utters with a reverence usually reserved for prayer. For the next 3 months, your life is not your own. It is a campaign, a strategic exhibition of your personhood, with the ultimate prize being a suitable marriage proposal. Your days are a dizzying carousel of obligations, all meticulously recorded in a small leather-bound diary on your bedside table. Morning calls to influential hostesses, where you must appear bright but not boisterous. Afternoon drives in Hyde Park, seated just so in the open carriage, your parasol tilted at the perfect angle to protect your skin from the sun's insidious touch. Then come the endless dinners, the musicals, the theatre outings, and the balls. Oh, the balls. Shimmering, intoxicating, terrifying arenas where your worth is judged in a single glance across a crowded room. Your maid, Mary, finally sets down the brush. "There now, miss," she says, her voice a comforting murmur. "Lovely as a picture." You try to smile at her reflection, but the expression feels brittle. "Thank you, Mary." The picture, however, is not the one society wishes to see. You lean closer to the mirror, your breath misting the cool glass. The gaslight in the wall sconces flickers, casting shifting shadows across your face. It is this light, so much softer than the unforgiving glare of day, that you must rely upon. In this golden haze, the faint dusting of freckles across the bridge of your nose is almost invisible. These are the remnants of a childhood spent outdoors, a crime for which you are now paying the price. Your mother calls them unfortunate, a word she wields with surgical precision. But it's the colour in your cheeks that is the true villain. a healthy, natural blush that speaks of good circulation and a strong constitution. In another life, this would be a blessing. In this life, it is a mark of the common. The ideal, the pinnacle of feminine beauty, is a complexion of almost supernatural pallor. A skin so white, so luminous and translucent, it suggests a life lived entirely indoors, away from the vulgarity of sunlight and physical exertion. It is the look of aristocracy, of delicate, ethereal beings who do not toil, who do not sweat, who exist on a higher plane. A rosy cheek belongs to a milkmaid, robust and ruddy. A pale cheek belongs to a lady. It's a strange paradox, you've always thought, to strive for a look that so closely mimics ill health. It seems the most desirable women are those who look as if they might expire from a mild breeze. Your mother entered the room then, a rustle of taffeta and a cloud of French perfume announcing her arrival. She is a handsome woman, her own season a legendary success 2 decades prior. Now, her ambition has been transferred entirely to you. She circles you like a general inspecting a soldier before battle. Her eyes, sharp and discerning, miss nothing. Turn your head to the left, she commands. You obey. The hair is adequate. Mary, you've done well. She taps a finger on your shoulder. Posture, darling. Remember what we practiced. A lady does not slouch. It suggests a slouching of her moral character. A light smile touches your lips at the thought. The connection between a straight spine and a virtuous soul seems a rather tenuous one, but you dare not say so. And the smile, your mother continues, her gaze returning to your reflection. A gentle, enigmatic curve of the lips, not a wide, toothy grin. You are a mystery to be solved, not an open book to be read by any passing lout. Not a text message, but a carefully curated, public performance. Every detail is managed, every expression rehearsed. She adjusts a small pearl earring, her fingers cool against your skin. Your colouring is vivid tonight, she says, and it is not a compliment. Did you take your walk this afternoon? I hope you kept your parasol down. Yes, Mamma, the entire time. She sighs, a small frustrated sound. We must simply make do. She glances at the small pot of rice powder on your vanity, a legitimate, socially acceptable cosmetic used to mattify the skin. A little more powder, perhaps. But you both know the powder can only do so much. It sits on the surface, a chalky mask that can crack and cake as the evening wears on. It cannot bestow the genuine, from-within pallor that is so coveted. It cannot create the illusion of a delicate, blue-blooded fragility. As Mary dabs another layer of powder onto your cheeks, you feel a familiar wave of despair. It is a hopeless task. You are presenting a healthy, living girl to a market that desires a beautiful, breathing doll. One can only imagine what was truly said when the drawing room doors were finally closed and the masks of polite society were allowed to slip. Tonight is the Duchess of Abernathy's annual ball, the most significant event of the early season. All of society will be there. All the eligible gentlemen, their shrewd, matchmaking mothers at their sides. Your entire future could be decided between a waltz and a glass of lukewarm champagne. And as you stare at your own frustratingly wholesome reflection, you feel a desperate, sinking feeling. You need more than powder. You need a secret. You need a miracle. The Duchess of Abernathy's townhouse is a palace of light, carved out of the London night. From a block away, you could see its windows blazing, spilling golden warmth onto the street and illuminating the long, slow procession of carriages. Now, stepping from your own carriage, the sheer scale of the event is breathtaking. The air is thick with the scent of expensive perfumes, horse leather, and the first hint of rain on the city's dusty stones. A river of silks, satins, and glittering jewels flows up the grand marble staircase, the sound a low collective murmur of excitement and ambition. Your gloved hand rests lightly on your mother's arm, but your knuckles are white. Inside, the heat is the first thing that hits you. The combined warmth of 1,000 candles and several hundred bodies presses in on all sides. The orchestra, tucked away in a gallery overhead, is playing a sprightly waltz, but the music is almost drowned out by the roar of conversation. It's a beautiful, terrifying crush of humanity. You see faces you recognize from the park, from other, lesser parties. Debutantes like yourself, their expressions ranging from ecstatic confidence to the same veiled panic you feel. You see young men in their stark black and white evening dress, their eyes scanning the room. You feel less like a guest and more like a prize heifer at a county fair, polished and prepped for judging. Your mother guides you through the throng with the practiced ease of a ship's captain navigating a treacherous strait. She points out key figures with a subtle dip of her fan. There is Lord Ashworth, an old family, but they say his finances are precarious. Avoid. A moment later, and Mr. Carmichael. His father owns half the shipyards in Liverpool. Very promising. And he is dancing with Miss Eleanor Vance, her 3rd season. Poor girl. Each assessment is delivered in a low conspiratorial tone, a map of the social battlefield you are expected to conquer. You smile, you nod, you try to look serene and pleasantly intrigued. But the corset still bites. The air is still too thick to draw a proper breath, and the reflection you saw in your mirror haunts you. You feel rustic and ruddy, a wildflower trying to pass amongst orchids. After half an hour of this pageantry, of being introduced to a blur of faces and names, you feel a desperate need to escape. "Mama," you whisper, touching her arm. The heat is a little overwhelming. I thought I might retire for a moment to adjust my gown. It is the perfect, unimpeachable excuse. Your mother nods, her gaze already sweeping the room for your next strategic introduction. "Do not be long," she says. "Mr. Davies has just arrived, the barrister. An excellent prospect." You murmur your assent and slip away, grateful for the reprieve. The ladies' retiring room is a sanctuary of relative calm. Soft Aubusson carpets swallow the sound of your footsteps. The walls are papered in a delicate floral silk, and several velvet fainting couches are arranged for those overcome by the heat or the tightness of their corsets. A few other young women are present, attended by their maids, fixing a stray curl, repinning a flounce on a dress, or simply sitting and breathing for a moment. The air here is cooler, smelling faintly of smelling salts and rosewater. You find a quiet corner, ostensibly to check your reflection in a tall, gilt-edged mirror, but really just to gather your thoughts. It is here you see her, Miss Isabel Croft. She is leaning against a chaise lounge, fanning herself with a languid grace that you can only envy. Isabel is the season's undisputed diamond. She's not merely pretty, she is breathtaking. And her complexion, it is the stuff of legend. It is not white. It is luminous, like moonlight on snow, so flawless it appears unreal. She catches your eye in the mirror and offers a small, knowing smile. "A bit of a furnace in there, isn't it?" she says, her voice low and musical. You turn, feeling a little starstruck. "It is. I confess I was feeling rather faint." "It's always the way at the Duchess's affairs," she says, her gaze sweeping over you with an unnerving perception. She believes more is more. More people, more candles, more everything. Her eyes linger for a moment on your cheeks. You feel a flush of humiliation, certain she is noticing the very healthy glow you so despise. She must see something in your expression, a flicker of the same desperation she must have once felt, because she moves closer. The other ladies are absorbed in their own worlds, their own quiet dramas. Isabel lowers her voice, creating a bubble of intimacy around the two of you. "It is a terrible business this season," she whispers, though her smile never falters. "Being paraded about, judged on the luster of one's hair and the circumference of one's waist." She leans in, her own perfume, something exotic like jasmine, enveloping you. "And, of course, the skin." You nod, unable to speak, feeling seen in a way that is both comforting and alarming. "I used to have the most dreadful time of it," Isabel continues, her voice barely audible now. "My constitution is horribly robust. I always looked like I'd just come in from a brisk walk in the country." She says the word country as if it were a disease. "My mother was in despair." She pauses, watching you. She is testing the waters, seeing if you are worthy of her secret. Your own desperate wish from earlier for a miracle, for a secret, echoes in your mind. You lean in, an unspoken invitation for her to continue. "Have you ever heard of the women of Styria?" she asks. You shake your head. The name sounds foreign, mysterious. "It is a region in Austria. The women there are famous for their beauty, their complexions. They have a tonic." She chooses the word carefully. "It comes in little wafers, lozenges really, as unassuming as a breath mint." She opens her small beaded reticule and, with a glance to ensure no one is watching, shows you a glimpse of a tiny ornate silver box. They call them complexion wafers. The historical root of the secret gives it a strange credibility. It is not some back-alley quackery. It is a European tradition, a sophisticated remedy for a sophisticated problem. "What is in them?" you ask, your heart beginning to beat a little faster. Isabel's eyes glitter. "A very particular mineral. A marvellous little thing, really. It clears the skin of all impurities, all blotches, all that dreadful colour." She smiles. "It makes the eyes sparkle too. And they say it helps one put on a little weight, in all the right places. Gives you that lovely rounded look that gentlemen so admire." She offers a little shrug, a masterpiece of casual indifference. "It's arsenic, of course." The word hangs in the air between you, in poison. Your blood runs cold. You think of rat poison, of grim newspaper stories, of death. You take a half step back. "Arsenic? But that's deadly." "In large quantities, yes," Isabel says smoothly, as if discussing the weather. "But this is a homeopathic amount, a tiny, tiny dose. The body becomes accustomed to it. The Styrians do it for their entire lives. They call themselves the toxiphagi, the poison eaters. They swear it keeps them strong." A brilliant, chilling piece of marketing. She sees the fear and fascination warring in your eyes. "Believe me," she says, her voice soft and persuasive. "I was frightened at first, but then I saw the results. My dance card has never been so full. Lord Pemberton told me last week I looked like a moonbeam." A moonbeam. The word is intoxicating. To be a moonbeam, not a milkmaid. With another surreptitious glance around the room, she takes your hand. Her skin is cool and dry. She presses the little silver box into your palm. It is surprisingly light. "Try one," she whispers, "before the Hamiltons' dinner dance next week. Dissolve it in a little water. No one will ever know, and everyone will notice." She gives your hand a final squeeze and drifts away, melting back into the world of ladies and their maids, leaving you standing alone by the mirror. You stare down at the small, elegant box in your hand. It is engraved with a delicate, Art Nouveau floral pattern. It is an object of beauty, of refinement. How could something so lovely hold something so terrible? The choice, you realize with a jolt, was made the moment you wished for a miracle. This is its answer. And in the silence of that gilded room, you can almost hear the whisper of a door you never knew existed, creaking slowly open, promising beauty at a price you cannot yet begin to comprehend. For the next several days, the little silver box from Isabel Croft becomes the secret center of your universe. You keep it tucked away in the back of your lingerie drawer, nestled amongst sachets of dried lavender and soft silk chemises. Yet, even when hidden, you are intensely aware of its presence. It feels like a small, sleeping animal, both precious and wild. You find yourself making excuses to go to your room, closing the door and taking it out. You run your thumb over the cool engraved flowers, open the delicate clasp, and stare at the two small, chalky white wafers nestled inside. They look as innocent as peppermint creams. They are a promise and a threat all at once. The memory of Isabel's luminous face at the ball is a constant temptation. You see her serene confidence, her effortless success, and you contrast it with your own frantic efforts to please, to measure up. Your mother's voice is a daily reinforcement of your inadequacies, her comments on your complexion a steady, dripping tap of criticism. So flushed after your music lesson, dear. One would think you'd been running a race. Or, have you seen the Pearsons' eldest daughter, skin like porcelain, a testament to good breeding? Each comment pushes you closer to the edge, closer to the little silver box. The Hamiltons' dinner dance looms at the end of the week. It is considered a more intimate, and therefore more important, gathering than the Duchess's sprawling affair. Here, serious courtships are forged. Mr. Davies, the barrister your mother mentioned, will be there. The pressure is immense. This is not just another party, it is a critical opportunity. The night before the dance, you lie awake in the dark, the rumble of a passing carriage shaking the window pane. The choice is no longer whether you will take the wafer, but when. The miracle you wished for is sitting in your drawer, and it feels like cowardice not to use it. On the afternoon of the dance, you make your decision. You wait until your mother has gone out for her afternoon calls, and Mary is busy mending a gown downstairs. Your heart hammers against your ribs as you lock your bedroom door, a scandalous act in itself in a house where privacy is a rare commodity. You retrieve the box. Your hands are trembling slightly as you take out one of the wafers. It feels light, almost weightless. Following Isabel's whispered instructions, you pour a small amount of water from the carafe on your nightstand into a glass. The wafer sinks to the bottom. You stir it with a silver hairpin, watching as it slowly dissolves, turning the water faintly cloudy. There is no smell. You lift the glass, pausing for a moment. This is it, the threshold. With a silent prayer to a God you hope is not watching too closely, you drink it down in one quick, decisive gulp. The water is cool, and there is only the faintest, chalky aftertaste. For a moment, nothing happens. You stand in the silence of your room, waiting for a sign, a thunderclap, a sudden transformation. Nothing. It is almost disappointing. It feels no more significant than taking a headache powder. An hour passes. You sit by the window, pretending to read a book of poetry, but your senses are on high alert. You are cataloguing every sensation in your body. It is a state of mind not unlike waiting for a life-altering letter to arrive. You are suspended between the past and a future you cannot yet see. Then you feel it, a slow, spreading warmth in your stomach. It is not unpleasant, just strange. A mild internal hum. You feel a peculiar lightness in your head, a subtle detachment from your surroundings, as if you are observing the room through a thin veil. You rush to your vanity, searching your reflection for a change. Is it your imagination, or is there a new softness to your features? A slight, almost imperceptible plumping of the skin around your cheeks, erasing the sharp lines of anxiety. The effect is incredibly subtle, but when Mary comes to help you dress, she is the first to remark on it. "Oh, miss," she says, her head tilted as she begins to arrange your hair. "You're looking ever so well today. The rest has done you good." Later, as you are putting on your pearls, your mother stops in the doorway, her critical gaze sweeping over you. She pauses, her expression softening into one of rare, unqualified approval. "Well," she says, "there now, that is the look, so serene, so delicate. Perhaps the London air is finally agreeing with you. The irony is so thick you could taste it. The praise, which you have craved for so long, feels both wonderful and fraudulent. You have not rested. You have not agreed with the air. You have cheated, and it has worked." This knowledge sends a thrilling, dangerous surge of confidence through you. When you arrive at the Hamiltons' residence, you do not shrink from the candlelight. You embrace it. You feel Isabel's word echo in your mind. Moonbeam. You carry yourself with a newfound poise. The dinner is a blur of polite conversation, but for the first time, you feel you are an equal participant, not just a terrified child at the adults' table. After dinner, the drawing room furniture is cleared for dancing. A young man hands you your dance card, a beautiful little thing of ivory and silk with a tiny pencil attached by a ribbon. It is a tangible representation of the evening's possibilities. Before you can even be claimed by one of the callow youths hovering nearby, your mother materializes, Mr. Davies in tow. "My dear, may I present Mr. Julian Davies? Mr. Davies, my daughter. He's not classically handsome in the way of some of the other men, but he is tall, with a kind, intelligent face and dark eyes that seem to see more than they let on. When he bows, it is with a quiet sincerity that feels different from the flamboyant flourishes of others. "A pleasure, miss," he says, his voice a calm, warm baritone. "May I be so bold as to request the first waltz?" His name is the first to be inscribed on your pristine card. When he leads you onto the floor, his hand on your waist is firm but respectful. He does not pull you too close, yet you are acutely aware of his presence. As the music begins, he doesn't start with the usual barrage of vapid compliments about the music or the decorations. "Your mother tells me you are a great reader," he says, his eyes holding yours. "I confess I've just finished the latest Mr. Dickens. A bit sentimental in places, but his portrayal of the city is unmatched, don't you think? You are so taken aback by the question, by its sincerity, that you almost miss a step. You talk of books, of art, of the strange beauty of the London fog. He listens to your answers, truly listens, and his replies are thoughtful. He is not just making conversation, he is having one. You feel a genuine spark, a connection that has nothing to do with your appearance or your family's status. And then, as you are turning in a graceful arc, it happens. A wave of dizziness washes over you, and the glittering ballroom seems to tilt for a terrifying second. Your stomach gives a queer little flutter. You falter, your breath catching in your throat. Immediately, his arm tightens around you, steadying you. "Are you quite all right?" he asks, his voice low with concern. His brow is furrowed, his kind eyes searching your face. "You've gone quite pale." The irony is staggering. "I am fine," you manage to say, forcing a smile. "Just a momentary spell. The room is so warm. Of course, he says, though he doesn't look entirely convinced. He slows your pace, guiding you with an extra gentleness until the music ends. He returns you to your mother, his hand lingering on your arm for just a moment longer than necessary. Thank you for the dance, he says, his gaze still full of a quiet concern that you find both unnerving and deeply touching. As he bows and walks away, you are left with a bewildering cocktail of emotions. The giddy thrill of a nascent romance, the triumph of your gambit, and the cold, chilling reminder of the poison humming gently in your veins. One might wonder if the sparkle in your eyes that he found so captivating came from the flickering candlelight, or from a secret, dangerous fire you'd only just begun to feed. You wake the morning after the Hamiltons' dance to a world that feels subtly altered. Sunlight streams through a gap in your heavy velvet curtains, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. For a moment, you feel a pure, unadulterated joy as you recall your waltz with Mr. Davies. The intelligence in his eyes, the sincere warmth of his voice, the protective steadying of his hand. But the memory is immediately tainted by a physical reality. There is a dull, persistent ache behind your eyes, and your stomach feels unsettled, like a nervous sea. It is the poison's first invoice, a gentle reminder of the price of your newfound beauty. You lie still, taking stock. The elation of the night before has faded into a quiet, anxious hum. The path you have chosen requires maintenance. The luminous, delicate creature Mr. Davies met last night cannot revert to the girl with the healthy, freckled cheeks by morning. The thought is terrifying. You have presented him with a beautiful illusion, and now you are its slave. Before Mary even arrives with your morning tea, you slip out of bed, retrieve the silver box, and take your second dose. It feels less like a momentous decision this time, and more like a grim necessity, like taking a spoonful of unpleasant medicine that one simply must endure. The ritual is already becoming routine. Later that day, you are seated in the formal front parlour with your mother. It is a room designed for receiving guests, not for comfort. The chairs are upright, the tables polished to a mirror shine, and the air is thick with the scent of potpourri and propriety. You are attempting a piece of needlepoint, a ridiculously complex pastoral scene, while your mother reads aloud from a book of sermons. The afternoon is dragging, each tick of the grand father clock in the hall a small leaden weight. Suddenly, the parlour door opens and your butler, Wilkins, enters. He moves with a silent, practiced grace, a silver salver held aloft in his white-gloved hand. On the tray lies a single crisp white rectangle of pasteboard. It is a simple object, yet it electrifies the stagnant air in the room. This is not the casual delivery of mail. This is a ritual. Your mother places her book down, her expression one of supreme concentration. Wilkins presents the tray to her. She picks up the card, holding it by the edges as if it were a fragile relic. Mr. Julian Davies, she reads aloud, her voice unable to conceal a note of triumph. She turns it over, inspecting it. There are no bent corners, no special marks, just his name, elegantly engraved. It is a formal declaration of intent. He is officially calling. Not exactly a text message, but this small, stiff card carries far more weight. A formal request for entry into your life. Wilkins, your mother says, her voice regaining its usual composure. You may show Mr. Davies in. Your heart leaps into your throat. You were not expecting him so soon. You smooth your dress, your hands suddenly damp. Your needlepoint lies forgotten in your lap. Mr. Davies enters the room, looking even taller and more substantial in the daylight than he did in the flickering candlelight of the ballroom. He bows to your mother, then to you, his eyes finding yours for a brief, significant moment. The visit itself is an exercise in excruciating formality. You sit. He sits. Your mother, enthroned on the sofa, sits between you, acting as a human bulwark against any potential impropriety. She steers the conversation, asking Mr. Davies about his family, his practice at law, his views on the latest political turmoil. His answers are intelligent and respectful, but his gaze keeps drifting to you. You are permitted to ask a question about the weather and offer him a cup of tea. It is a stilted, frustrating dance, a conversation held in code, full of charged glances and unspoken thoughts. When he leaves, precisely 15 minutes later, the socially mandated length for a first call, you feel both exhilarated and exhausted. His visit is followed 2 days later by another, and then an invitation arrives. Not for a ball, but for a walk. A chaperoned constitutional in Hyde Park. This is the next crucial step. It signifies a desire to know you outside the gilded cage of a drawing room. The day is mild and overcast, a perfect day for a walk, as the sun is not a threat. You wear your finest walking dress and a new bonnet that frames your face becomingly. Mr. Davies meets you and your mother at the entrance to the park. He looks handsome, less formal in a tweed coat, and the smile he gives you is genuine and warm. As you begin to walk along the path lining the Serpentine, your mother takes up her position, precisely 3 paces behind you, close enough to hear every word and intervene if necessary, but far enough to grant the illusion of privacy. It is one of society's most peculiar and necessary customs, this tightrope walk between freedom and supervision. I was hoping I would have the chance to speak with you again, Mr. Davies says, his voice a low counterpoint to the crunch of gravel under your feet. Properly, I mean, without the need for a chaperone to translate. A light smile touches your lips. My mother is a most formidable translator. He chuckles, a pleasant, easy sound. Indeed. He sobers, his expression turning thoughtful again. I enjoyed our conversation the other night. It is rare to speak with a young lady about something other than the quality of the orchestra. And it is rare to speak with a gentleman who does not begin every sentence with a compliment about one's dress. You reply, feeling a boldness you didn't know you possessed. His smile widens. Then we are a rare pair indeed. As you walk, the conversation deepens. He asks you about the books you truly love, not the ones you are supposed to display on your side table. He asks what music truly moves you. He seems genuinely interested in the contents of your mind, a part of you that has never before been a factor in the marriage market. You feel yourself unfurling, petal by petal, under the warmth of his attention. But as you talk, the poison makes its presence known. A slight, almost unnoticeable tremor begins in your left hand. You disguise it by gripping the handle of your parasol more tightly. A little later, a sudden sharp cramp seizes your stomach. You press a hand to your abdomen, hoping your expression does not betray the discomfort. You feel a wave of cold wash over you, despite the mildness of the air. Mr. Davies, ever observant, notices the slight shift in your posture. You are shivering, he says, his brow creasing with that familiar, gentle concern. Are you cold? Perhaps we should turn back. No, I am perfectly well, you insist, forcing another bright smile. A passing cloud, nothing more. You are becoming an accomplished actress. He doesn't look convinced, but he lets it go. From behind you, your mother sails along in blissful ignorance, nodding at acquaintances, her mind likely occupied with wedding bands and settlements. She has no idea that the daughter she is so proudly displaying is engaged in a silent, desperate battle with her own body, or that the man she so approves of is beginning to see cracks in the flawless facade. The walk ends at your front gate. He takes your gloved hand, his touch sending a jolt through you that has nothing to do with arsenic. "Until the opera on Friday, then," he says, his eyes holding yours. "Until Friday," you echo. You watch him walk away, his tall figure receding down the street. You feel dizzy with happiness, with the terrifying, exhilarating possibility of a future with this man. But as you turn to go inside, another cramp, sharper this time, reminds you of the treacherous ground on which you stand. One must wonder how a foundation for a life together can be laid when the very cornerstone is a secret you pray he never discovers. The days following your walk in the park settle into a new, precarious rhythm. Your life is now governed by two powerful and opposing forces: the blossoming courtship with Mr. Davies and the insidious tyranny of the little silver box. The morning dose of arsenic is no longer a choice. It is an obligation. It is the first thing you do upon waking. The metallic, chalky taste on your tongue, a grim herald of the day to come. You have become a chemist of your own appearance, carefully titrating the poison to maintain the ethereal pallor that has won you so much approval, while praying the side effects do not betray you. But they are becoming harder to ignore. The initial subtle symptoms have sharpened into chronic complaints. The tremor in your hands is more persistent now, a fine, ceaseless vibration that makes delicate tasks a trial. Your once neat embroidery stitches have become erratic and uneven. When you pour tea, you must brace your wrist with your other hand to keep the cup from rattling in its saucer. You have a constant, low-grade nausea that sours your appetite, and food has lost its flavour, tasting only of the faint, metallic tang of the poison that now lives in you. Your maid, Mary, watches you with worried eyes. She is a simple, kind-hearted girl who has been with you since you were a child, and she knows your moods and habits better than anyone. She sees you pushing food around your plate at breakfast. She notices the dark, violet shadows that have appeared beneath your eyes, shadows that no amount of powder can truly conceal. "You're looking peaky, miss," she says one morning, as she helps you with the endless buttons of your day dress. "It's all these late nights, I expect, and all this excitement." She smiles a knowing, gentle smile. They say love can be a terrible strain on the constitution. You force a laugh, but her words strike you with the chilling accuracy of a well-aimed dart. If only she knew. The strain is not from love, but from the lie you are living to be worthy of it. Your formal public courtship with Mr. Davies proceeds along its prescribed course. There is the opera, where you sit side by side in the velvet-lined box, your shoulders never touching, your conversation limited to hushed whispers between arias, all under your mother's eagle eye. There is another stilted afternoon call, but the real connection, the true substance of your burgeoning relationship, is happening in secret. It begins on a Tuesday. The day is grey and damp, and you are feeling particularly unwell, the tremor in your hands making it impossible to even hold a pen steady. You are lying on the chaise lounge in your bedroom when Mary slips in, her expression a mixture of conspiracy and concern. She closes the door quietly behind her. "A messenger boy brought this to the kitchen door, miss," she whispers, pulling a thick, folded letter from the pocket of her apron. "He said it was for your hands only." Your heart gives a great, painful lurch. It is not your family's cream-coloured stationery. This is heavy, masculine, cream-laid paper. You know, instinctively, who it is from. This is not a calling card to be presented on a silver tray. This is a clandestine communication, a flagrant breach of protocol. To send a letter directly to a young, unmarried woman was a deeply intimate and deeply risky act. If discovered, it could brand you as fast and compromise your reputation entirely. It was the Victorian equivalent of a secret, late-night phone call, freighted with far more danger. You take the letter from Mary, your trembling fingers brushing against hers. You are now partners in this crime, and the knowledge passes between you in a single, silent glance. "Thank you, Mary," you say, your voice barely a whisper. "You will not speak of this." "Of course not, miss," she replies, her loyalty absolute. You wait until she has gone to open it. The paper is thick and expensive. It is sealed with a simple wax D. You break the seal with your fingernail, your hands shaking so much you nearly tear the sheet. The letter is covered in Mr. Davies's, in Julian's, strong, decisive handwriting. The ink is a deep, dark black. It even smells faintly of him, a scent of leather and clean linen, and something you imagine is the dry, papery scent of a law library. "My dearest miss," it begins, and the formal address feels laughably inadequate after the intimacy of its delivery. "I pray you forgive the boldness of this letter. I find our chaperoned encounters to be a unique form of torture, allowing me to be near you, but never truly with you. I left the park the other day with 100 things left unsaid. I wanted to tell you how the grey light caught the colour of your eyes. I wanted to ask you what you truly dream of when you are not performing your duties for the season. I find myself thinking of our conversation more than I ought, and of you more still. Society places us in a gilded cage, does it not? We are permitted to speak of the weather and art, but not of what is in our hearts. I feel I am getting to know a beautiful, curated portrait, and I long to know the real woman behind it. The woman who loves novels and is not afraid to say so. The woman whose eyes sparkle with a fierce intelligence when she speaks. He quotes a few lines from a poem you had mentioned, a verse about hidden streams running to the sea. He writes that he feels you both have these hidden streams. You read the letter once, then twice, then a third time, your heart swelling with a joy so pure and overwhelming it feels like pain. He sees you. He truly sees you. Not the pale doll, not the family name, not the potential dowry, but you, the person you were afraid no one would ever bother to look for. It is in this moment of supreme happiness that your body chooses to betray you most cruelly. A sudden, violent cramp doubles you over. You gasp, clutching your stomach as a wave of intense nausea rises in your throat. You stumble to the wash basin, your head spinning, and retch. Nothing comes up but bile. The letter flutters from your hand to the floor. You grip the cold marble of the washstand, your knuckles white, waiting for the spasm to pass. When it finally subsides, you are left weak and shaking, your forehead slick with a cold sweat. You look at your reflection in the mirror above the basin. Your face is a deathly, greenish white. Your eyes, which he had called sparkling, look huge and haunted in your pale face. The beautiful illusion is maintained, but the cost is etched in the deep shadows beneath your eyes and the new, alarming thinness of your face. You retrieve his letter from the floor, the precious paper now a stark contrast to your own wretchedness. You must reply. To leave such a letter unanswered would be a cruelty, an insult. You sit at your writing desk, but your hand shakes so badly that your penmanship, usually so elegant, comes out as a spidery, weak scrawl. What can you write? How can you match his raw honesty? How can you speak of your heart when it is housed in a body you are systematically poisoning. You write that you, too, feel the constraints of the gilded cage. You tell him his letter was a breath of fresh air in a stifling room. You use the very excuse you have been honing, the irony a bitter pill on your tongue. You must forgive my poor handwriting, you write. I have been suffering from a bout of ill health, and my hand is not as steady as I would like. You seal the letter and give it to Mary. The exchange solidifies your conspiracy. As you sit in the quiet of your room, you reread his letter, pressing the paper to your cheek. It is a strange and terrifying calculus, to feel your life truly beginning at the very same moment you can feel your body beginning to fail you. The invitation is to Lady Danbury's annual Rose Fete, a much-anticipated event held at her sprawling country estate, just a carriage ride from the city's smoky grasp. The day dawns impossibly perfect, with a sky of pale, cloudless blue and a gentle breeze that carries the scent of summer. As you arrive, the scene before you is one of such curated perfection it feels unreal. Manicured lawns, as green and smooth as billiard felt, roll down to a glittering man-made lake. A string quartet plays softly from beneath a white gazebo, their music a silken thread weaving through the murmur of polite conversation and light laughter. And everywhere there are roses, thousands of them, climbing ancient brick walls, spilling from oversized urns, and lining the paths in a riot of colour, from the palest blush to the deepest crimson. It is a world away from the stuffy, gaslit ballrooms of London. Here, in the fresh air and sunshine, there is a feeling of freedom, of relaxed propriety, yet the competition is just as fierce, the judgment just as swift. It is simply better disguised. The entire affair is a masterpiece of artifice, a carefully constructed illusion of effortless grace. It is, you think, not unlike yourself. On the surface, you are a vision. Your dress, a confection of pale green muslin, complements the garden setting perfectly. Your complexion, maintained by your daily secret ritual, is flawless under the dappled sunlight. Your mother is practically preening with pride as ladies stop to compliment your delicate English rose beauty. You accept the compliments with a serene smile, the lie so practiced now it feels almost natural. But beneath the layers of muslin and lace, your body is a landscape of quiet misery. The sun, though gentle, makes your head ache, and the light reflecting off the lake feels sharp and painful to your eyes. The sweet, cloying scent of 10,000 roses is a constant threat, hovering on the edge of triggering the nausea that is your constant companion. You have been there for less than an hour when you see him. Julian is talking with a group of men near the croquet lawn, but his eyes are scanning the crowd, searching. When they find you, his entire expression softens. He excuses himself and makes his way towards you, his path a study in quiet determination. The secret exchange of letters has changed everything between you. The air now crackles with a shared intimacy, a knowledge that sets you both apart from everyone else in this sun-drenched paradise. "Miss," he says, bowing to you and your mother, "I was hoping you might do me the honour of viewing the famous Danbury Rose Arbour. They say her collection of French cultivars is unparalleled. It is the perfect excuse." Your mother, seeing the most eligible bachelor of the season paying such devoted attention to you, gives a gracious nod. "Of course," she says. "Do not be long. They will be serving strawberries and cream soon." As Julian leads you away from the crowd, down a winding gravel path, you feel a sense of dizzying liberation. Your mother is still visible, a pastel shape in the distance, but you are effectively alone. The sound of the string quartet fades, replaced by the buzzing of bees and the rustle of leaves. "I received your letter," he says, his voice low and warm. It has not left my pocket since it arrived. Nor yours, mine, you reply, your voice softer than you intended. He smiles, a real, unguarded smile that makes your heart ache with a strange and wonderful tenderness. I am glad. I feared I had been too bold. Never, you say. You enter the rose arbor, a long shaded tunnel of woven lattice groaning under the weight of climbing roses. The air here is thick and heavy with their perfume. Sunlight filters through the leaves, dappling the path in shifting patterns of gold. It is an utterly romantic, impossibly beautiful place. Julian stops and turns to you. He reaches out and, with a gentle touch, snaps the stem of a single, perfect rose from the vine beside him. It is a deep, velvety crimson, the colour of wine, its petals just beginning to unfurl. He holds it out to you. Do you know the language of flowers? He asks softly. You shake your head, mesmerised by the intensity in his gaze. This is a Rosa Gallica, he says. In the language of flowers, it has a very simple, very direct meaning. He pauses, his eyes holding yours. It means, I love you. The words hang in the fragrant air, as potent and intoxicating as the scent of the roses. He is no longer speaking in code, no longer hiding behind poetic allusions. It is a pure, direct declaration. He loves you. A wave of happiness so powerful it almost brings you to your knees, washes over you. This is it. This is the moment you have been poisoning yourself for. This is the prize. You reach out to take the rose, a symbol of everything you have ever wanted. And that is when your carefully constructed world shatters. As your fingers touch the velvety petals, a violent, sickening lurch in your stomach turns the world on its head. The intoxicating scent of the roses becomes a suffocating, gagging stench. The beautiful dappled light explodes into painful swimming shards. A cold, clammy sweat breaks out across your forehead and the back of your neck. The ground seems to drop away from you, and you have to reach out and grip the wooden lattice of the arbour to keep from falling. My dear! Julian's voice cuts through the roaring in your ears, his tone stripped of romance and filled with pure alarm. You are ill. You are as white as a sheet. He is by your side in an instant, his arms securely around your waist, supporting you. The romantic moment is utterly annihilated, replaced by a grim, medical urgency. Here, he says, guiding you toward a small, hidden bench at the end of the arbour. Sit. Put your head down. He is so kind, so full of genuine, uncomplicated concern, that it feels like a physical blow. He thinks you are a delicate creature, overcome by the heat or your emotions. He has no idea he is tending to a self-inflicted wound. He rushes off and returns a moment later with a glass of water from a nearby refreshment table, kneeling before you, urging you to take a sip. The forced intimacy of the moment is a brutal irony. He is closer to you than ever, but only because of the secret that stands like a wall of glass between you. From a distance, you see your mother glance in your direction. She sees the two of you, sitting so closely on a secluded bench, and a small, satisfied smile touches her lips. She thinks she is witnessing a romantic conquest. She has no idea she is looking at a medical emergency in miniature. You manage a few sips of water. The worst of the nausea subsides, leaving you weak, trembling, and hollowed out. The magic is gone. The beautiful garden party is now just a collection of sights and sounds that grate on your raw nerves. The perfect red rose lies in your lap, its declaration of love feeling like a mockery. What a strange and cruel paradox, to be handed a symbol of blooming, vibrant love, while feeling the undeniable wilt of your own life force. The 2 days following the garden party are quiet and long. You spend them mostly in your room, claiming a lingering headache, an excuse your mother accepts with a sigh of weary resignation. The crimson rose Julian gave you sits in a small crystal vase on your vanity. It is already beginning to wilt. The edges of its velvety petals are turning brown, curling inward like a secret fist. You watch its slow decay with a morbid fascination, seeing in it a reflection of your own. His declaration of love echoes in your mind, a beautiful, perfect melody played on a discordant instrument. The memory of his face, creased with alarm as you stumbled against the trellis, is just as vivid. Your daily dose of arsenic now feels different. It is no longer a tool for ambition, but a chain you have forged for yourself. You take it with a sense of grim duty, knowing that to stop now would be to reveal the lie. The healthy colour would return to your cheeks, the ethereal quality would vanish, and Julian would be faced with a stranger. The thought of his confusion, his potential disappointment, is more terrifying than the poison itself. On the third day, Julian calls. Wilkins announces him with a formal gravity, but you know this is not a social call. This is a visit with a purpose. He is shown into the back parlour, a less formal room where your family sometimes gathers. You are arranged on the sofa, a book open but unread in your lap, your mother seated nearby with her mending, a silent, watchful sentinel. Julian enters, and the polite smile on his face does not reach his eyes. His gaze is intent, searching, and filled with a profound concern that makes your stomach clench with guilt. He dispenses with the usual pleasantries about the weather. After a brief, formal greeting to your mother, he turns his full attention to you. "I came to inquire after your health," he says, his voice low and serious. "I confess I have been unable to think of much else since Lady Danbury's fate. You gave me a considerable fright." "You are too kind, Mr. Davies," you murmur, your eyes dropping to the book in your lap. "It was nothing. The sun was stronger than I anticipated." "It was more than the sun," he insists, taking a seat in the chair opposite you. He leans forward, his hands clasped between his knees, creating an intimacy that seems to shrink the room and push your mother to its periphery. "I have seen you look so before. At the Hamiltons' dance, you nearly fainted. During our walk, you shivered, though the day was mild. These are not isolated incidents." You have no answer. Your excuses feel flimsy and pathetic, even to your own ears. He softens his tone, his expression becoming one of pained sincerity. "From the moment I first saw you," he begins, his voice dropping even lower, "I was captivated. There is a quality about you unlike anyone else, an etherealness. Forgive my boldness, but you look as though you are spun from moonlight and mist." The compliment lands like a lead weight in your stomach. He is praising the poison. He is articulating with poetic precision the exact effect you have been paying for with your health, with your honesty. "But this beauty," he continues, and now his brow is deeply furrowed, "it seems to walk hand in hand with a fragility that terrifies me." He is wrestling with a classic Victorian ideal, the romantic, interesting invalid, a woman whose delicacy was seen as a sign of a refined and sensitive soul, beautiful in her vulnerability. He is drawn to the image, but the reality of your fainting spells and visible weakness is beginning to frighten him. He is a practical man, a barrister, and he sees a pattern of evidence that points to a worrying conclusion. "Every time I see you," he says, "you seem more luminous and yet more frail. It is a contradiction I cannot reconcile. I find myself wanting to protect you, to wrap you in flannel and keep you safe by a fire, and yet I know your spirit is anything but weak." Your mother, ever tone deaf to the emotional undercurrents in a room, chooses this moment to interject. She has always been a delicate thing, she says with a strange note of pride, as if it were a desirable accomplishment. Even as a girl, so sensitive, it is a sign of her good breeding. Julian gives your mother a tight, polite smile, but his eyes, when they return to you, are filled with an emotion that looks almost like desperation. Has your family consulted a physician? He asks directly, ignoring your mother's social platitudes. Dr. Abernathy has a fine reputation, or perhaps a trip to the sea. The bracing air at Brighton is said to work wonders for a fragile constitution. He is like a man of today, anxiously scrolling through medical websites, searching for a diagnosis, a cure, for symptoms he cannot understand. You are trapped in a web of your own making. Every concerned suggestion he offers is a fresh torment. He is trying to solve a problem he cannot possibly comprehend, proposing remedies for a sickness whose cause is sitting in a small silver box in your dressing room. He must see the distress in your face because he does something shockingly bold. He reaches across the small space between you and takes your hand. Your gloved fingers are swallowed in his warm, strong grasp. It is a gesture that flies in the face of propriety, a public claiming. Your mother makes a small, scandalized noise but says nothing. "Forgive me," he says, his thumb gently stroking the back of your hand. "But I must speak plainly. My feelings for you are significant. The thought that you might be unwell, truly unwell, is something I cannot bear. The world would be a lesser place without your light in it." His words, so full of genuine, heartfelt love, are a quiet devastation. This good, honourable man is falling in love with you. The real you he has glimpsed in your conversations, but he is housing that love in the beautiful, poisoned vessel you have created. The guilt is a physical thing, a cold sickness that churns in your gut, far worse than any cramp from the arsenic. He finally releases your hand and stands to leave, the tension in the room thick and heavy. His visit has changed nothing and everything. He has no more answers than before, but he has laid his heart bare, and in doing so has exposed the full depth of your deception. He bows, his eyes lingering on your face with a look of profound, helpless love. "Take care of yourself," he whispers, a command, a plea, and then he is gone. You are left in the silent room, your mother pointedly rearranging her sewing basket. You can still feel the warmth of his hand on yours. How long, you wonder? Can you accept the love of a man who is falling for both the woman you are and the poison that is slowly unmaking you? Julian's visit leaves you suspended in a state of exquisite torment. His love is a warm, brilliant sun, but you are a planet with a dark side you can never let him see. His concern for your health is a constant, gentle pressure on the bruise of your conscience. You live for his visits, his letters, the brief, chaperoned moments you can steal in public. But each encounter is poisoned by your secret. The strain is beginning to wear you down, not just physically, but mentally. You are jumpy, anxious, and your sleep is haunted by vague, terrifying dreams. A new, more practical fear soon eclipses the existential dread. One morning, as you perform your daily ritual, you open the little silver box, and your blood runs cold. There, on the faded velvet lining, sits the very last wafer. It looks small, solitary, and utterly insufficient. A wave of pure panic, sharp and sickening, washes over you. Your carefully constructed world, your relationship with Julian, your mother's approval, your very identity as one of the season's successes. It all depends on this tiny, chalky disc. The thought of facing the day, let alone a future, without it is impossible. It is no longer a matter of wanting the wafers. You need them. The addiction has sunk its teeth in deep. You rack your brain, trying to recall your hushed conversation with Isabel Croft in the retiring room what feels like a lifetime ago. She had mentioned a name, an address, Mr. Finch, on a little street off the Strand. It had sounded so discreet and sophisticated then. Now it sounds sordid and dangerous. The Strand is a world away from the manicured squares of Mayfair. It is a bustling commercial artery, a place of shops and theatres and crowds, a place a lady of your standing has no business visiting alone. To get there, you must construct a lie of formidable proportions. You spend a whole day plotting. Your mind, which Julian praises for its intelligence, now bent to this singular, deceptive purpose. The next morning, you approach your mother with a plan of perfect, virtuous cunning. You tell her that a vicar who visited last month spoke so movingly of the plight of the poor in the Seven Dials district that you feel compelled to offer some small charity. You wish to take a bundle of your old, outgrown shawls to a local parish. And you will, of course, take Mary with you. Your mother, who values public acts of piety, is delighted. It is a sign of your good character, your benevolent heart. The irony is a physical weight in your chest. You are using the poor as a prop in your own desperate drama. It is a new low, even for you. The virtuous excuse allows you to dress down in a plain grey dress and a modest cloak. Most importantly, it allows you to wear a heavy veil, obscuring your face from any prying eyes. You do not take the family carriage. Instead, you and a nervous-looking Mary slip out the back and hire a plain, anonymous cab. As the carriage rattles away from your pristine, quiet street, you feel as though you are crossing a border into a foreign country. The architecture changes. The streets become narrower, dirtier, louder. The air grows thick with the smells of coal smoke, fried fish, and unwashed humanity. You are descending into the city's messy, beating heart. You dismiss the cab a street away from your destination, not wanting the driver to witness your errand. You and Mary walk the final block, your heads down, your pace brisk. The shop is exactly as you imagined it, small, grimy, and utterly anonymous. The paint on the sign above the door is peeling, and the name, C. Finch, apothecary and chemist, is barely legible. The display window is filled with dusty, ominous-looking jars containing what look like pickled snakes and bundles of dried brown herbs. It looks less like a place of healing and more like a witch's pantry. Your heart is hammering against your ribs so hard you fear it is visible through your dress. "Wait here," you whisper to Mary, who looks terrified. You pull your veil more tightly across your face and push open the door. A small bell jangles mournfully. The air inside is thick and still, a nauseating cocktail of chemical smells. Camphor, sulphur, sweet, cloying opium, and 100 other unidentifiable odours. The shop is a cavern of shadows, shelves crammed from floor to ceiling with bottles of every shape and size, their contents murky and threatening. There are boxes of powders, packets of pills, and sinister-looking medical instruments. This is not the clean, respectable world of a pharmacist. This is something else entirely. This is the sordid underbelly of medicine, a place people come when their problems cannot be solved in the light of day. A man emerges from a back room, wiping his hands on a stained apron. He is small and pale, with thin hair and eyes that are both shifty and unnervingly perceptive. This must be Mr. Finch. He looks you up and down, his gaze lingering on the fine quality of your gloves and the expensive leather of your boots, details your disguise could not hide. "Yes," he says, his voice a dry rustle. You have to clear your throat before you can speak. I was recommended, you begin, your voice a choked whisper. A friend suggested you might be able to supply me with complexion wafers from Styria. You say the words Isabel taught you, the elegant European branding that now feels so laughably false. A flicker of something, amusement, recognition, crosses his face. He doesn't feign ignorance. He knows exactly what you mean. Ah, he says, for the complexion. He leans forward, his voice dropping. A popular item with the ladies, for that certain luster. He names a price that is outrageously high, a clear exploitation of your desperation and your class. You don't bargain. You reach into your reticule, your trembling fingers fumbling with the clasp, and pull out the coins. He counts them slowly before disappearing into the shadowy back room. While you wait, your eyes scan the shelves around you. You see a box labelled Steedman's Soothing Powders for teething babies, which you know from newspaper reports is laced with opiates. You see packets of rat poison guaranteed effective. You see dark blue bottles labelled laudanum. You realise with a sickening jolt that you are not in a boutique. You are in a shop that deals in dependency and death, and your coveted beauty aid is sold right alongside poison for vermin. A horrifyingly funny thought flashes through your mind. Your mother would have a fit of apoplexy if she knew you were procuring your beauty secrets from a man whose other clients were likely trying to get rid of rats or sedate a screaming infant. Mr. Finch returns and slides a small plain cardboard box across the counter. No elegant silver case this time. No floral engravings, just a cheap anonymous container. As your fingers close around it, you feel a profound sense of shame and self-loathing. You have crossed a line. This is no longer a sophisticated beauty secret. This is a back-alley transaction, a purchase made in the shadows. You turn and flee the shop, not even waiting for a thank you. You grab Mary's arm and hurry back down the street, the box clutched in your hand like a talisman of your own damnation. You do not feel relief. You only feel sullied, frightened, and trapped. One can only wonder at what point a secret habit becomes a sordid addiction. At what point the seeker of beauty becomes just another customer in the marketplace of shadows. The new wafers from Mr. Finch's grimy shop feel different in your hand. They are slightly thicker, chalkier, and they come in a cheap cardboard box that you keep hidden at the bottom of a hat box, as if its sordidness might be contagious. You have no idea if they are stronger or weaker than Isabel's elegant supply, and this uncertainty introduces a new and volatile element to your daily calculus of self-poisoning. You try taking the same dose, but the effects are harsher. The nausea is more acute, the tremors more pronounced. A strange, persistent ringing has started in your ears, a high, thin sound that is your constant companion. A week after your visit to the apothecary, Julian comes to call. You are seated in the front parlour, the stage for so many of your formal, chaperone performances. The room feels stuffy, the air motionless and heavy. Through the tall windows, you can see the sky as a sheet of pearlescent grey, threatening rain. It feels like the world is holding its breath. You feel it too. Every nerve in your body is stretched taut. You have a searing headache, and the intricate pattern on the wallpaper seems to writhe and shimmer every time you look at it. Julian enters, and his smile of greeting is immediately replaced by a look of deep concern as he takes in your appearance. You know you must look dreadful. Despite a thick layer of rice powder, your skin has taken on a waxy, almost greyish tint, and the violet shadows under your eyes are darker than ever. Your mother, oblivious as ever, launches into a monologue about a recent scandal, involving a viscount and an opera singer. You try to focus on her words, to nod and smile in the right places. But the room is beginning to tilt. Julian's voice, when he speaks, sounds distant and distorted, as if coming from the end of a long tunnel. The high-pitched ringing in your ears intensifies to a piercing shriek. A wave of profound vertigo washes over you. So powerful, you have to grip the plush velvet of the sofa to anchor yourself. The floral pattern of the carpet begins to pulse with a sickening rhythm. This is different from the momentary dizziness you've experienced before. This is not a gentle swoon. This is a hostile takeover of your senses. You feel a strange detachment, as if your mind is floating somewhere near the ceiling, looking down at the three figures in the room. You see yourself, a rigid, pale doll. You see your mother, her mouth still moving. You see Julian, his face a mask of growing alarm as he watches you. You try to speak, to say you are unwell, to ask for a glass of water. But your tongue feels thick and useless in your mouth. Your vision narrows, the edges blackening, closing in. Your last conscious thought is that this is not how it happens in novels. There is no delicate grace, no gentle flutter of the hand to the forehead. There is only a terrifying, helpless plunge into darkness. You feel your grip on the sofa give way, and the world dissolves into a roar of black silence. Your return to consciousness is a slow, painful swim up through thick, murky water. The first thing you register is a smell, a sharp, acrid, eye-watering odour that seems to sear the inside of your nostrils, smelling salts. The second is a cacophony of sound. Your mother is shrieking, a series of high, panicked noises. Mary is sobbing your name. And underneath it all is Julian's voice, sharp with command, stripped of all its usual warmth. Give her air. Loosen her corset for God's sake. Your eyelids flutter open. The world is a bewildering, upside-down blur. You are on the floor. Your head is in Mary's lap, and your mother is flapping a silk fan uselessly at your face. A small, ornate tea table lies on its side, a porcelain cup shattered beside it. You must have knocked it over when you fell, but it is the sight of Julian that shocks you into full awareness. He is kneeling on the floor beside you, a flagrant violation of every rule of social conduct. His coat is askew, his cravat is loosened, and his face is ashen with a terror that eclipses mere concern. He looks at you not as a suitor, but as a man who has just witnessed something truly horrific. She's awake, he says, his voice rough with relief. He reaches out and pushes a stray strand of hair from your forehead, his touch gentle, but his eyes are burning with a new, fierce intensity. Oh my heavens, the embarrassment, your mother wails, her first thought for the social catastrophe, not your well-being. To collapse in such a manner, in front of Mr. Davies, what will people think? The dark irony of her words barely registers. You are too weak, too disoriented, too deeply ashamed. Your mask has not just slipped, it has been violently ripped away. The ethereal, delicate moonbeam is gone. In her place is a girl who has collapsed in a convulsive, ungraceful heap on the parlour floor. The carefully constructed facade is in ruins. That is enough, Julian says, his voice so cold and hard that your mother falls silent, her mouth agape. He stands up, his authority absolute. This is not a swoon. This is a serious medical event. A doctor must be sent for immediately. A doctor? Your mother protests weakly. It is merely a fit of the vapours. A little lie-down is all she needs. She needs a physician, Julian retorts, his gaze unwavering. Now. I will not have her life put at risk for the sake of avoiding gossip. He turns and strides out of the room without another glance at your mother. You hear his voice in the hall, firm and low, speaking to your father, who must have been drawn by the commotion. The words are indistinct, but the tone is clear. He is taking charge. He is overriding your family's authority. The situation has been wrested from your control. Your secret, while still unspoken, has manifested in a way that can no longer be hidden or excused. It has become a public spectacle, a crisis that others must now manage. Mary helps you to your feet, your body feeling like a stranger's, heavy and uncooperative. You lean on her as she guides you from the room, past the shattered teacup and the overturned table, the evidence of your body's shocking rebellion. And as you lie there in your bed moments later, listening to the muffled, urgent voices downstairs deciding your fate, you have to wonder what is more terrifying, the secret being discovered, or the secret finally consuming you in plain sight. You lie in the hushed quiet of your bedroom, a prisoner in a fortress of silk sheets and down pillows. The collapse has left you feeling scoured out, fragile as old lace. The curtains are drawn against the afternoon light, casting the room in a dim, underwater gloom. Every sound from downstairs, a closing door, a man's low voice, makes you jump. Julian had insisted on the doctor, his will overriding your mother's flustered objections. And so you wait, the silence of the sick room, a heavy blanket, your fear a slow, cold IV drip into your veins. You have, you think with a shudder of black humour, finally achieved the perfect, authentic look of a Victorian invalid, but the reality is anything but romantic. The arrival of Dr. Abernathy is announced by a quiet knock. He enters the room with your mother, and his presence seems to suck all the remaining air out of the space. He is an older man, tall and grave, with silver hair and eyes that seem to see far too much. He is the physician to half the aristocracy, a man renowned for his skill and his discretion. He carries a black leather bag that looks heavy with authority. He greets you with a curt professional nod, his gaze already making a clinical assessment. Your mother fusses, arranging your pillows, her anxiety manifesting as a flurry of useless activity. The doctor waits patiently for her to settle before he begins. "Well now, young lady," he says, his voice calm and even. "Let us see what all the fuss is about." The examination is a formal, methodical process. He sits on a chair beside your bed, close but not touching. First, he takes your wrist, his cool, dry fingers pressing against your pulse point. He holds his pocket watch in his other hand, his eyes fixed on the ticking seconds, his expression unreadable. He asks you to show him your tongue. He gently pulls down the skin beneath your eyes to look at the colour. He takes your hands and studies your fingernails with a concentration that makes your skin crawl. You wonder what he sees there, what secrets your own body is telling him against your will. He unbuttons the cuff of your nightgown and places the cold, bell-shaped end of his stethoscope against the thin skin of your inner arm, then against your chest, over your heart, listening. The intimacy of the act, even in this clinical context, is startling. He asks you questions in his low, measured voice. Have you been suffering from any gastric upset, a nausea, a loss of appetite? You give a weak nod. And these tremors I've been told about, palpitations of the heart? You nod again, unable to meet his gaze. Then comes the question you have been dreading, the one that feels like a surgeon's probe searching for the wound. Are you taking any tonics, my dear? Any patent remedies? Perhaps something to improve your energy or to brighten the complexion? His voice is perfectly neutral, but the question hangs in the air, weighted with significance. You shake your head, the lie automatic, pathetic. No, doctor, only rice powder. He does not challenge you. He simply finishes his examination in silence, his face a grim, thoughtful mask. He packs his instruments back into his bag with slow, deliberate movements. When he is done, he sits back in his chair and looks at you, then at your mother. "I will not mince words," he begins, and the gravity in his tone makes your heart freeze. "Your daughter is a very sick young woman, and I do not believe this is the result of any natural affliction or constitutional weakness." Your mother bristles. "I assure you, doctor, my daughter has always been delicate." The doctor holds up a hand, silencing her with a single, quiet gesture. "Madam, I am seeing a disturbing trend amongst the young ladies of society this season, a particular sort of fashionable malady." He leans forward slightly, his gaze fixed on you. It is here that he demonstrates why he is the physician to the aristocracy. He will not name the beast, for that would be a scandal, a gross breach of professional etiquette. Instead, he will draw its portrait so precisely that only a fool could fail to recognize it. "There are products," he says, his voice dropping, "that are sold discreetly. Wafers, powders, lozenges, often imported from the continent with promises of a peerless complexion. They promise beauty, but they deliver a slow, corrosive sickness." He sounds like a modern physician carefully broaching a topic of addiction, choosing his words to inform, not accuse. "The initial signs are often dismissed," he continues, his clinical description a perfect narration of your past few months. "A loss of appetite, a slight tremor. Then the gastric distress begins. The heart begins to race and flutter. The nerves become agitated. The final stage, if the substance is not discontinued, is often a collapse, such as the one your daughter experienced. Confusion, convulsions, a failure of the senses." He pauses, letting the weight of his words settle in the silent room. Your mother stares at him, her expression one of indignant confusion. "I cannot see what this has to do with my daughter," she says stiffly. "She would never involve herself with such things." The doctor ignores her, his eyes still locked on you. His gaze is not unkind, but it is brutally clear. He knows everything. His words are not a guess, they are a diagnosis. "The only cure for this condition," he says, his voice firm, "is the complete and immediate cessation of the offending substance. All of it, at once. I can prescribe bland foods, rest, perhaps a restorative trip to the seaside, but none of that will make a shred of difference if the poison continues to be administered." He leans in one last time, his voice dropping to a near whisper, a final, chilling warning, meant only for you. "Make no mistake, child. If the current course is maintained, the next collapse may very well be the one from which you do not wake." The word hangs in the air. Poison. He has given it a name without ever saying it. The vague, romantic notion of your secret habit is stripped away, leaving only a stark, medical reality. You are not a moonbeam. You are not an ethereal beauty. You are a girl who is systematically poisoning herself to death. The fear you have been living with is no longer a shapeless dread. It is a clinical prognosis. The doctor stands, gives a stiff bow, and leaves the room with your father to discuss his fee. You are left in the oppressive quiet with your mother, who is already muttering about the doctor's impertinence and his wild, insulting accusations. But you are no longer listening to her. You are listening to the echo of the doctor's words. It is a strange thing to be given a diagnosis for a disease you knowingly inflicted upon yourself. The secret is no longer a whisper in your heart, but a clinical fact written in the lines of your own pale face. The doctor's words echo in the oppressive silence of your room for 2 days. They are a death sentence and a pardon, all in one. If the current course is maintained, The choice is brutally simple. You can continue to be the beautiful, dying creature society applauds, or you can choose to live, and in doing so, destroy the illusion that has brought you Julian's love. But was it the illusion he fell in love with? Or was it you? This is the question that tortures you, the single point upon which your entire future now pivots. You realize, with a clarity that is as terrifying as it is liberating, that you cannot answer it while hiding behind your secret. You have to tell him. You have to give him the truth, even if it costs you everything. It is the only antidote to the poison you have so willingly consumed. With a hand that is surprisingly steady, you pen a short, urgent note. You do not offer explanations. You simply write, "I must speak with you on a matter of the gravest importance. Please call this evening at 8. You send it with Mary, knowing it is a breach of all etiquette, a summons a gentleman could rightly refuse. But you know Julian will come. That evening, you wait for him not in the formal front parlour, but in the small library at the back of the house. It is your father's sanctuary, a room of warm wood, worn leather, and the comforting scent of old paper. A fire crackles in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls. It feels like a confessional. You have prepared for this moment as a condemned man prepares for his final statement. On the small table beside your chair, hidden beneath a silk handkerchief, is the plain cardboard box from Mr. Finch. It is your confession, your shame made tangible. When Wilkins announces him, your heart seizes. Julian enters the room, his face etched with worry. He clearly expected to find you in your sickbed, and seeing you dressed and waiting for him here, in this serious, private room, only deepens his alarm. "You should be resting," he says immediately, his voice tight with concern as he closes the door behind him. "I cannot rest," you reply, your own voice thin and strange. "Not until I have spoken with you." You gesture to the chair opposite yours. "Please." He sits, his eyes never leaving your face, trying to read the truth of the situation. You take a deep breath, the air smelling of wood smoke and old books. This is it, the precipice. "First," you begin, your voice trembling, "I must thank you for what you did, for insisting on the doctor. You may have saved my life." A flicker of confusion crosses his face. "Of course, I would do anything for you. But the doctor, what did he say?" This is your opening. He said that my illness is not from a weakness of constitution. He said it is from a poison I have been willingly taking. The word hangs between you in the firelit dark. Julian stares at you, his expression shifting from confusion to utter disbelief. "Poison? What are you talking about? Has someone done this to you?" The idea of malice is easier for him to comprehend than the alternative. "No," you say, the word tasting like ash. "No one did this to me. I did it to myself." You reach for the handkerchief on the table and pull it away, revealing the sordid little cardboard box. You push it across the table toward him. "For my complexion," you whisper, the admission a burning humiliation. He looks from the box to your face, his mind clearly struggling to connect your words with the woman he thinks he knows. And so, in a low, halting voice, you tell him everything. You tell him about the pressure of the season, about your desperation for a pale, perfect face. You tell him about Isabel Croft and her whispered secret of Styrian wafers. You tell him about the first dose before the Hamiltons' ball, the night you met him. You tell him about the secret visits to the apothecary, the escalating sickness, the lies. You spare yourself nothing. You confess it all, the narrative of your deceit unspooling into the quiet room. It is like lancing a wound, a terrible, painful, but necessary release. As you speak, his face transforms. The loving concern is replaced by a mask of stunned horror. His eyes, which have always looked at you with such warmth, become distant and unreadable. You can see the pieces clicking into place for him, your pallor, your fainting spells, your fragility. The ethereal quality he so admired is recast in a new, monstrous light. He looks at you as if you are a complete stranger, a dangerous and unpredictable creature he has somehow mistaken for the woman he loved. It is a moment of confession that feels terrifyingly similar to any such moment, in any era, when a truth is revealed that has the power to shatter a relationship to its very foundations. When you finish, a profound and terrible silence descends upon the room. The only sound is the soft hiss and crackle of the logs in the fire. You have laid your heart, in all its ugly, deceitful truth, at his feet. You have given him the weapon to destroy you, and you fully expect him to use it. "I know what I have done," you say into the silence, your voice cracking. "There is no excuse. The lie I have lived is unforgivable. I release you from any promise, any feeling you may have had for me. You must walk away. I expect you to. You have offered him his freedom. You have given him an escape from the social ruin that would surely follow if this were ever made public. You brace yourself for the cold words of dismissal, for the sight of him standing up and walking out of your life forever. He does not move. He simply stares at the small box on the table as if it is a venomous snake. The silence stretches for what feels like an eternity. Then, slowly, he raises his eyes to meet yours. The horror is still there, but underneath it is something else. A deep, fathomless sorrow. "Foolish," he whispers, his voice rough with emotion. My God, what a foolish, dangerous thing to do. He picks up the box, holding it between his fingers as if it is contaminated. He looks from it, back to you. The pressure. I saw it, of course, but I never imagined it could drive you to this. He stands, but he does not walk toward the door. He walks toward the fire, and in one swift, decisive movement, he throws the box into the heart of the flames. You both watch as the cardboard blackens, curls, and is consumed by the fire, the last of your poison turning to ash. He turns back to you, and the look on his face is one of agonizing compassion. "Did you think that was what I loved?" he asks, his voice thick with unshed tears. "The paleness of your skin? Did you think my love was so shallow?" He crosses the space between you and kneels before your chair, taking your trembling hands in his. "I fell in love with the woman who reads books and argues with me about poetry. The woman whose eyes light up when she talks about music. The woman who was brave enough to write to me in secret. This terrible thing you did." He shakes his head, struggling for the words. "It does not change her. It only makes my heart ache for what you must have gone through." He brings your hands to his lips, telling me this right now. "This is the bravest thing you have ever done, and it is this woman, this honest, flawed, and impossibly brave woman that I love, and that I will not leave." A sob escapes your throat, a sound of grief and gratitude, an overwhelming relief. He pulls you into his arms, and you cling to him, the facade you have worked so hard to maintain, finally crumbling to dust. One can never know the true strength of a love until it is tested by the full weight of a terrible truth, and it is in the rubble of a lie that the strongest foundations are sometimes found. The morning after your confession is the first morning in months that you do not begin your day with a lie. You wake not to the familiar, clenching dread in your stomach, but to a profound sense of quiet. The world outside your window is the same, but your inner landscape has been irrevocably altered. The terrible weight of your secret, a burden you had carried for so long you had forgotten what it felt like to be without it, is gone. You are weak, exhausted, and deeply ashamed of what you have done, but you are also, for the first time, free. Julian, true to his word, does not abandon you. He becomes your anchor in the quiet storm that follows. He speaks with your father that morning, not as a suitor asking for permission, but as a partner in your care. A story is carefully constructed for the benefit of society, a masterpiece of face-saving fiction. You have been struck down by a severe bout of influenza, the lingering effects of which require a prolonged period of convalescence far from the rigours of the London season. It is the perfect, respectable excuse. Your mother, utterly bewildered by the sudden shift in power and the usurpation of her authority by your future son-in-law, can do little but agree, her complaints about the disruption to her social plans sounding petty and small in the face of such seriousness. Within the week, you are sent away to Brighton. The change of scenery is a balm to your frayed soul. The city's oppressive maze of brick and propriety is replaced by a vast, endless horizon of sea and sky. The air, instead of being thick with coal smoke and polite perfume, is sharp and clean, tasting of salt and freedom. You spend your first days simply resting in a set of rented rooms overlooking the sea, with Mary as your quiet, steadfast companion. Julian has insisted she be the one to attend you, knowing she is the only other person who knows a part of your secret. The road back to health is not easy. Your body, so long accustomed to the poison, rebels at its absence. You are plagued by headaches and fatigue, and the weakness in your limbs feels profound. But slowly, day by day, life begins to seep back into you. You start with short, shuffling walks on the promenade, leaning heavily on Mary's arm. Then, you graduate to longer strolls, your steps becoming stronger, more confident. You begin to eat again, and you are astonished to discover that food has flavour. A simple piece of bread and butter, a fresh strawberry. They are revelations to a palate that has only known the metallic tang of arsenic for months. One afternoon, you catch a glimpse of your reflection in the window of a shop. The woman staring back at you is a stranger. The waxy, ghostly pallor is gone. In its place, the sea air has whipped a healthy, rosy colour into your cheeks. The faint constellation of freckles across your nose, which you once saw as a terrible flaw, now looks like a sign of life, of days spent in the sun. Your eyes, no longer artificially bright with sickness, are clear and calm. This is you, the real you. And for the first time, you do not hate what you see. Julian travels down from London every weekend. His courtship continues, but it is a world away from the clandestine letters and chaperoned park walks. Here, by the sea, it is honest and open. You walk along the pebbled beach, the wind whipping at your skirts, and you talk for hours. You tell him about your fears, your hopes, the foolish dreams that led you down such a dark path. He, in turn, tells you of his own world, his work, his belief in justice and truth. There are no secrets between you. Your mother's letters from London are a source of gentle, ironic amusement. Lady Danbury asked after you. She writes, "I told her you were recovering well, though from your last photograph you are looking terribly robust. I do hope you are not abandoning your parasol. That sea air can be so ruinous to a delicate complexion." You smile as you read it. She still doesn't understand. She thinks you have lost your most valuable asset. when in reality, you have only just reclaimed your life. The Victorian obsession with a certain look seems so distant now, as absurd and flimsy as a paper doll in the wind. One cool evening, as you sit together on a bench watching the tide roll in, Julian takes your hand. There is no flowery speech, no grand declaration like the one in the rose garden. His proposal is as quiet and steady as his love has been. "I believe you are well enough to return to London soon," he says, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "And when you do, I would like you to return as my wife. Let us build a life together, a real one, free from shadows. You accept with a heart that feels too full for your chest. You return to London not as a failed debutante fleeing the scene of her collapse, but as an engaged woman, strong and sure of her place in the world. You see the other young ladies of the season, their faces still powdered into a fashionable white mask, and you feel a profound wave of pity, and then of gratitude. You have been to the edge of the abyss they are all so desperately courting, and you have been pulled back. And you learn in the end that true beauty is not something you apply or consume, but something that grows from a life lived honestly, in the warm and steady light of love. And so our story comes to a gentle close. The frantic, glittering world of the London season fades, replaced by the calm and steady rhythm of the sea. The whispers of secret poisons and impossible beauty standards are carried away on the breeze, leaving behind only the quiet truth of a love that was strong enough to survive a devastating lie. The journey back to health, back to honesty, is a slow and deliberate walk, taken one step at a time. The frantic pursuit of a flawless facade gives way to the simple, profound peace of being truly seen and truly loved for who you are, not for the illusion you can create. Now, as the image of the waves on the Brighton shore softens and fades, allow your own mind to drift. Let go of the story's lingering tensions. Feel the weight of your own body, safe and comfortable, and the gentle rhythm of your own breath. The past is a place we can visit, but we do not have to live there. Tonight, you can rest, free from all gilded cages, real or imagined. Allow yourself to sink deeper into comfort, into quiet, and into a peaceful, restorative sleep.